On a gloomy September morning in Dubai, Rashid al-Mansouri, the renowned CEO of a leading oil company, stepped out of his luxurious villa and never returned. No one could have predicted that on that day, a disappearance would send shockwaves throughout. A man with a flourishing career, a happy family, and a life that most people would envy. Yet in the first few hours of his business trip, that stability was shattered. Rashid had informed his family that he was going on a business trip to a remote resort located in the outskirts of Dubai's desert, where he planned to relax and work. Little did anyone know that this trip would mark the beginning of a mysterious disappearance, leaving his family and partners grappling with a devastating shock. A relaxing destination, far from the hustle and bustle of the city, where he could find peace after months of stressful work. "I'll be back soon," Rashid had told his wife Ayesha as they parted that morning, without a hint of anything suspicious. But the last time she heard his voice over the phone was when he was on his way to the resort. Then everything went silent. What seemed like a normal trip quickly turned into a complex and baffling investigation. Every time Ayesha called or sent a message, she received nothing but utter silence. No one answered, no one replied. The family's housekeeper also confirmed that she had never seen Rashid leave the hotel or the resort. All communication between them had been completely cut off. By the end of the day, as nightfall descended, Ayesha began to feel an inexplicable sense of fear. She checked her husband's phone, searching for any messages, any signs that he was still alive or had encountered something. But all she found were missed calls and unread messages. Only a few short messages Rashid had sent before disappearing. "I'll call back later, don't worry." But now her entire family was drowning in extreme worry. No more peace, no more reassurance. Ayesha immediately contacted the police. A report of an unusual disappearance was filed. But things were not as simple as she had hoped. The resort where Rashid had gone was remote, rarely visited, and there were no surveillance cameras. No one knew what had happened after he arrived. Investigators searched in vain, finding no trace, only unanswered questions. The final calls from Rashid, identified as coming from a remote part of the resort, showed no signs of threat or emergency. But something strange happened. One evening, when investigators were able to reach the phone service providers, they uncovered a chilling truth. Rashid had sent a series of messages and phone calls to an unfamiliar number just hours before he vanished. This was a number not listed in his personal records, a number belonging to an unidentified man. A larger question now arose. Where did Rashid go? Why had no one seen him at the resort? And who was the man hiding behind those mysterious calls? Everything started to change in Rashid's family. A successful man, the CEO of a major company in Dubai, someone who was admired by everyone in the community. Rashid lived with his wife, Ayesha, and their 3 children in a luxurious villa. They were the picture of the ideal family, living a perfect life that everyone dreamed of. But everything was about to change. Ayesha, the gentle and devoted wife who had always trusted her husband completely, never imagined that the man beside her could change to this extent. She vividly remembered the times when Rashid would come home late, always vague and evasive when she asked about his work. But Ayesha thought it was just the usual stress of daily life, until one day, Rashid suddenly announced that he would be going on a business trip to a remote resort and would be out of contact for a few days. After he left, everything seemed to turn strange. Ayesha's calls went unanswered, her messages fell into silence. All her attempts to connect with him were in vain. The whole family was worried, but they still hoped it was just a misunderstanding, that he was simply too busy, or perhaps there had been an unexpected incident. However, with each passing day without any new information, Ayesha's concern began to turn into suspicion. What Ayesha didn't know was that, in the months before Rashid disappeared, he had gradually become more distant. Sudden business trips, secretive meetings he attended, all made her feel that something was not right. She tried to push away the negative thoughts, but her husband's strange behavior began to paint a different picture. Rashid was no longer the man she once loved and trusted, a change she couldn't explain. Rashid's disappearance was not an accident or coincidence. It seemed to have been planned for a long time, an escape from his family, from the responsibilities and secrets he had kept hidden. But Ayesha hadn't realized that truth. And throughout the long period when everyone still believed Rashid had simply gone missing, a dark story was slowly unfolding, shaking the life of her and her family. The Dubai police, when they began investigating Rashid's disappearance, discovered a suspicious detail that no one had anticipated. Beneath the perfect exterior of a wealthy family and a successful business life, there was a dark secret that no one knew about. This relationship wasn't just a simple affair, but involved conspiracies and complicity in shady financial schemes. Rashid, a talented and powerful man, had deceived everyone, not just his wife and children, but also the community around him. The man named Hadi, Rashid's secret partner, played a crucial role in this story. Hadi was a 35-year-old man working in finance, and it was at a company party a few years ago that they first met. Their relationship gradually developed beyond control, from an initial work collaboration to a secretive affair. But what kept Hadi and Rashid from openly declaring their love was the social stigma and the fear of losing everything they had. Hadi wasn't just a lover, but also a partner in secret business plans they both participated in, including shady financial transactions and dangerous decisions that could harm Rashid's career and family. The conversations between Rashid and Hadi, which the police retrieved from Rashid's phone, opened a door to a mysterious and complex world. The brief yet cryptic phone calls and messages made the investigators realize that Rashid's disappearance wasn't something he decided on alone. These conversations seemed to indicate their close cooperation in the months before Rashid suddenly disappeared. The exchanges, full of codes and Hadi's hurried messages, led the investigators to believe that there was a clear plan in place, one that Rashid had been preparing for a long time, and it might be tied to the large financial schemes they had executed together. The police found a series of missed calls between Hadi and Rashid, with a notably higher frequency in the days leading up to Rashid's disappearance. The words exchanged over the phone further fueled the investigators' suspicions that Rashid was not merely a victim of an unfortunate accident. They noticed the tension in Rashid's voice, as though he was preparing for an important step, possibly a complete escape from his old life. A final message from Hadi, sent just before Rashid vanished, read, "Everything is ready, only one more step. We won't have to worry anymore." This message not only revealed that Rashid's disappearance had been planned in advance, but it also hinted at careful preparation for leaving behind his family and everything he had built. The police's suspicions grew stronger as they realized that Rashid and Hadi's relationship was not just a clandestine affair, but also an extension of a shady financial plan, a scheme that Rashid and Hadi had worked on for a long time. The deeper the investigation went, the more clues led the police to financial exchanges between Rashid and Hadi. They discovered a series of large money transfers from secret accounts that Rashid had opened at international banks. These sums of money weren't just to evade financial obligations, but also to build a solid financial network where Rashid and Hadi could start a new life, unknown to anyone. It was these transactions that raised the question, was Rashid's disappearance part of a larger plan that Hadi and Rashid had arranged beforehand to escape family and social ties? The explanations from Hadi and the messages exchanged over the phone had now become extremely important. It seemed that Rashid wasn't just caught up in a secret affair, but he had also become part of a bigger game where finances and emotions no longer had boundaries. On September 10th, 2021, Rashid stepped out of his luxurious home, carrying a small suitcase, ready for a business trip that would last a few days at a resort on the outskirts of Dubai. No one could have known that this day would be the last time he would appear in front of his loved ones. Everything seemed normal, but just a few hours after Rashid left home, silence began to envelop his family's life. Day after day, Ayesha, Rashid's wife, tried reaching him by phone and text, but received no responses. A week passed, and the calls and messages remained unanswered. Rashid's colleagues also couldn't provide any information about him. They said there were no scheduled business trips to the resort he mentioned, and all his appointments had been canceled. Ayesha began to feel uneasy and started to suspect that something was wrong. She knew Rashid wasn't the type of person to just abandon his family without any warning. Her instinct as a worried wife urged her to take the next step. She decided to report the disappearance to the police. Immediately, the authorities began investigating the case. They quickly arrived at Rashid's home to search for clues. As the investigation team entered the family's luxurious villa, an ominous atmosphere filled the air. The familiar items, family portraits full of memories, everything appeared unchanged, as if nothing had shifted. But beneath the calm exterior, there were signs that something was amiss. As the officers began to search the rooms, they found clues that initially seemed like coincidences, but would later raise important questions. On Rashid's desk, an open laptop displayed recent financial transactions that the police couldn't immediately explain. Some of Rashid's bank accounts had unusual activity. Hundreds of thousands of dirhams had been withdrawn in the days before he disappeared. This raised suspicions that this was not just a simple disappearance, but potentially the result of a carefully planned scheme. But that wasn't all. While searching through Rashid's personal documents, the police discovered a new life insurance policy he had signed recently. The policy showed a substantial amount with Aisha listed as the beneficiary. However, what stood out was that Rashid had changed the beneficiary to someone named Hadi, a person Aisha had never heard of before, shortly before he vanished. The police couldn't yet understand the connection between Hadi and Rashid, but this change was clearly linked to his mysterious disappearance. The evidence was piling up, but what left the investigators confused was that there were no signs Rashid had left Dubai in the usual manner. Flights to other countries didn't show his name in the booking systems. The security cameras at the airport and docks didn't capture any trace of Rashid. This made it impossible for the police to figure out how he traveled, forcing them to confront a bigger question: did Rashid really leave Dubai, or was he hiding from someone within the city? Despite her anxiety and confusion, Aisha continued to cooperate with the police throughout the investigation. She worked with the investigators to retrace Rashid's steps in the months leading up to his disappearance. A truth gradually began to surface: Rashid had started distancing himself from the family. Unannounced business trips, secret meetings with no clear explanations, late nights when he came home and refused to talk — all of these signs deepened Aisha's worry. Even though she didn't want to believe it, each clue pointed to the possibility that Rashid had become involved in a secret she wasn't aware of. Just a few days after the police got involved, Aisha's suspicions seemed to be confirmed. Secret conversations between Rashid and someone she didn't know, unusual calls with increasing frequency and specific timing just before he vanished. All of them were pieces of a story that remained incomplete. And the deeper they investigated, the more the officers realized that Rashid's disappearance might be the beginning of a much larger conspiracy that no one had anticipated. As the Dubai police continued to delve into Rashid's financial transactions, their initial discoveries only fueled their suspicions about his disappearance. A large sum of nearly 10 million dirhams had been transferred out of Dubai on September 8th, just 2 days before Rashid vanished. This money was transferred to an account in Nepal, a country with which Rashid had never had any prior connections. This led the police to believe that Rashid's disappearance was not a mere coincidence but rather a well-prepared plan. Additionally, when examining Rashid's assets, the police discovered a series of transactions involving the sale of valuable properties, including luxury villas and expensive cars. These transactions had been made through obscure brokerage firms, all taking place before Rashid disappeared. Notably, a villa in the Palm Jumeirah area where Rashid and his family had lived had been sold at an unusually low price. This raised further suspicion that Rashid had been planning to leave his family for some time, possibly even preparing financially for a new life. One of the most significant discoveries was a life insurance policy that Rashid had signed just 1 week before his disappearance. The policy covered 50 million dirhams, with Aisha, Rashid's wife, as the sole beneficiary. The police noted this as an eerie coincidence. Not only did Rashid sign the insurance contract, but he also paid the entire premium in one lump sum, an action that no one could easily explain. This oddity led investigators to suspect that Rashid may have planned to fake his own death, to collect the large insurance payout and escape his family and company. As the investigation continued, the police uncovered evidence linking Rashid to his secret lover Hadi. Hadi, a 35-year-old man working in finance, had appeared in Rashid's phone conversations. Their text messages were full of innuendo with brief but clear discussions about leaving and preparing for a new life. The police became even more certain that Rashid's disappearance was not an accident, but a sophisticated plan to escape with Hadi. With all these findings, investigators began to piece together a picture of a large conspiracy. Rashid, perhaps feeling unable to continue his family life and career, had planned to fake his death, collect the large insurance payout, and start a new life with Hadi. From the liquidation of assets and the money transferred abroad to the questionable life insurance policy, all the clues pointed to the fact that Rashid had been preparing for this plan for a long time. However, the question remained unanswered. Where was Rashid? Had he truly vanished forever, or was he living a new life in some remote place while Ayesha faced the pain of losing her husband and the constant doubts? The investigators continued to track the clues, trying to determine if they could locate Rashid and Hadi before it was too late. But for Ayesha, the wife who had spent her life trusting her husband, everything seemed to be falling apart. The unusual signs, the suspicious sums of money, and the long-hidden secrets were now surfacing. While the police continued their investigation, she had to face the painful question: was everything she knew about her husband just a perfect facade, or was Rashid truly the person she had always believed him to be? The investigation into Rashid's disappearance continued to make progress, and new evidence gradually emerged, shedding light on the darker corners of this executive's life. Investigators traced the movements of Hadi, the man secretly involved with Rashid, and this led to a series of suspicious discoveries. By analyzing phone calls, text messages, and the history of meetings between Rashid and Hadi, investigators uncovered strong ties between the two. Despite their efforts to keep the relationship hidden, the conversations and meetings had been meticulously documented. One of the most notable pieces of information in the investigation was the discovery of a large sum of money transferred from Rashid's account to an account in Nepal. This strongly suggested that Rashid's disappearance wasn't a simple vanishing act, but rather part of a planned escape from Dubai. The transfer of money out of the country, especially to an unexpected destination like Nepal, led investigators to question the true motives behind Rashid's disappearance. Furthermore, a closer examination of Rashid's assets revealed even more crucial evidence. The sale and liquidation of properties appeared to be linked to preparations for a new life in another country, where Rashid could start fresh. The police gradually realized that Rashid had quietly been preparing for a new life, unbeknownst to his family and friends. Investigators continued to search for more evidence. One of the key findings was that Rashid had purchased a life insurance policy just before his disappearance. This raised suspicions, as Rashid had named Ayesha, his wife, as the beneficiary. However, a concerning detail was that the insurance policy was signed just a short time before Rashid went missing. This led investigators to notice an eerie coincidence between the timing of the insurance purchase and Rashid's disappearance. With the evidence gathered from financial transactions and the life insurance policy, investigators began to suspect that Rashid's disappearance was not an accident or a coincidence. These clues indicated that Rashid had meticulously planned to fake his death. This plan not only involved transferring money out of Dubai but also included altering personal information and pretending to disappear completely. The police did not stop there. They noticed that several large sums of money had been transferred abroad, particularly one transfer to Nepal, further reinforcing the theory that Rashid had left Dubai to start a new life in another country. Information from banks and financial accounts related to Rashid continued to reveal more about this plan. All the evidence pointed to Rashid preparing his death hoax thoroughly, disappearing completely from his old life. Although there was ample evidence suggesting that Rashid might have planned this for a long time, the troubling aspect was that investigators still couldn't pinpoint his exact location. All the traces led to Nepal, but was Rashid really there, or was he living somewhere else, unknown to anyone? With all the evidence collected, the police focused on Hadi, the man who had a secret relationship with Rashid. Hadi had been the only one who knew about Rashid's plan and was involved in carrying out the major financial transactions. The connections between Hadi and Rashid became increasingly clear as phone calls, text messages, and meetings between the two were investigated. Through multiple interrogations, Hadi could not deny his relationship with Rashid. Under pressure from investigators, Hadi eventually admitted that Rashid had been planning to fake his death for a long time. Hadi revealed that Rashid had decided to leave his life in Dubai behind to live freely with him. The two had transferred money out of Dubai, prepared financially for a new life, and arranged everything to ensure Rashid could disappear without anyone noticing. Their conversations increasingly suggested that Rashid's disappearance was not a coincidence but a carefully staged plan. Through Hadi's testimony and the evidence gathered from financial investigations, the police continued to expand their inquiry. But the truth behind Rashid's disappearance and his scheme remained shrouded in mystery. The police knew they had to keep searching to unveil the truth of an audacious plot and the fake death of a man who had once been a successful figure in society. The investigation continued to uncover shocking discoveries. After tracking financial transactions and uncovering irrefutable evidence, the police began to realize the complexity of the case. This was not a simple disappearance, but a meticulously executed plan to fake a death. Rashid, the wealthy and admired CEO, had vanished, but what he left behind was not merely the suspicion of his family, but a perfect scheme to escape massive debts and serious financial issues. As the investigators dug deeper, they found that Rashid and Hadi, his gay lover, had carefully planned the death hoax. The two had hired a professional specializing in fake death cases, someone capable of creating false evidence to present to authorities without detection. From altering official documents to staging a tragic accident, everything had been executed to ensure that Rashid could disappear without leaving a trace. Notably, Rashid had done all of this just before a major financial audit that he could no longer hide. This was not just deception, but a plan to leave behind all responsibilities, run from debt, and seek a new life free from the scrutiny of family and society. As for Aisha, Rashid's wife, everything suddenly turned dark. She had spent weeks in worry and anxiety over her husband's disappearance, unaware that it was all an elaborate hoax. As the truth slowly came to light, Aisha could not imagine that this could happen in her own family. She could not believe what she was hearing. Her husband, the man she trusted and loved, had betrayed the family in such a way. Her whole life was completely shaken, as if everything she had known was a lie. This betrayal not only caused Aisha immense pain, but it also thrust her into a crisis of honor and self-worth. As a Muslim woman, Aisha was not only facing personal shame but also the stigma from her family, friends, and community. Everyone looked at her with suspicion, and her children had to live in a world filled with criticism. Her husband had not only abandoned them but also tarnished the family's honor in the eyes of society. While Aisha was grappling with this overwhelming shock, she could not avoid feelings of guilt and pain. What she had once thought was true love, the seemingly eternal moments of happiness, now turned out to be cruel betrayal. She struggled with the question, why did Rashid do this? Did he truly love her, or was it all just a game of lies? For Aisha, the cost was not only the breakdown of her marriage but also a battle within herself, a struggle to face the truth and find a way forward for herself and her children. When the truth was revealed, the consequences of the case became severe and irreversible. Rashid and Hadi faced charges of insurance fraud, deception, and betrayal. Investigators confirmed that Rashid's death hoax was not just an escape from debt, but also a stab in the back to his family, an act that raised serious questions about loyalty and honesty in relationships. Both individuals, one a famous CEO and the other a secret lover, now had to pay for their actions. Rashid, once considered a symbol of success in the business world, now faced serious charges. His days as a CEO were over, replaced by long days in jail where all his previous glory had vanished. Dubai investigators arrested both Rashid and Hadi and extradited them back to Dubai for trial. The case quickly became the focus of public attention, with many questions left unanswered. People couldn't believe that a successful man like Rashid could deceive his family and society to this extent. The Dubai police, in a decisive move, made it clear that the disappearance was not an accident but a carefully staged plan from start to finish. However, beyond the charges they faced, this case raised significant questions about loyalty in relationships. Prosecutors faced a harsh reality that, in a society like Dubai, where honor and reputation are valued above life itself, actions like those of Rashid and Hadi could cause not only personal collapse, but also have profound effects on the entire community. They had not only deceived their family but also lost the trust of society in the fundamental values of love and honesty. For Aisha, the consequences were an unhealable pain. As she faced this ruthless betrayal, everything she had once believed in came crashing down. Not only did she lose her husband, but Aisha also had to bear the loss of her honor, as her family was now seen through a different lens as victims of a large-scale scam. Furthermore, she had to start over, stepping into a life without the presence of her husband, who had once been the pillar of the family, not just financially, but emotionally. Aisha's children, who once admired their father, now faced a massive shock. They had lost not only their father but also had to learn to live in a society where honor and honesty were of the utmost importance. Rashid's betrayal left deep psychological wounds on the children, as they had to come to terms with a truth no one in the family could have imagined before. This case was not just a lesson about dishonesty in relationships, but also a warning for all those living behind masks and lies. Rashid, who had spent his life creating a perfect image in the eyes of the public, lost everything because of an act of evading responsibility. His actions not only destroyed his family, but also impacted those around him, forcing them to grapple with the bitter truth and wounds that could never be healed. Rashid and Hadi's story serves as a reminder that sometimes behind outward success, there may lie dark secrets, betrayals so terrifying that only time can uncover them. In a society like Dubai, where reputation and honor are everything, deception can have unimaginable consequences. And thus this case has become a cautionary tale about the value of honesty, not only in family but also in every relationship we build.